We are Theoman, Ties, Jens and Vera, and we are 4 students from Utrecht University. And today we're going to tell you a bit about our research project in the field of neurodiversity. First, Jens is going to tell you a bit about the aim of our project, and then we're all going to tell you a bit about the contents.
So we are doing a project for the Neurodiversity Foundation. This foundation tries to better the lives of neurodivergent people. And one of the ways they do it is by lobbying at the governmental level. And now they also want to lobby at EU level, and we're basically the kickoff for that. So the EU has a diversity and inclusion policy, in which neurodivergent people are basically listed as disabled. And we want to alter that. We want to have a separate pillar, a separate category for neurodivergent people, apart from disabled people. And then our project is basically a paper where we'll be try to convince people that change is necessary, that this particular change is necessary. So we will be looking at the legality aspect of it. We'll be looking at the historical aspect of how have changes in EU policy and laws historically come about, and how can we learn from the past. And also we will be giving some economic and philosophical arguments as to why these changes are preferable. So the relevant laws that we consider are some treaty laws. So Article 2 of the Treaty of the European Union, Article 21 and 27 of the Charter of the European Union, and also Article 10 and 19 of the Treaty of the Functioning of the European Union. And these latter articles are very important because they basically give the EU the power to legislate, to combat discrimination on the matter of, for example, disability. So it would be very nice if we could change that article, Article 19 specifically, which Theoman, by the way, will talk a little bit, one of our co-presenters will talk a little bit more about that article. But unfortunately, the treaty change is very difficult because it requires unanimity from all member states, and that doesn't happen a lot. But these treaties are very important because they're basically the basis for other EU laws. So other EU law is derived from the treaties. So we will be looking into how this treaty change is possible and how we can convince people for this treaty change. Also, there are some specific laws, so directives that are derived from those treaties. Those are easier to alter because it doesn't require unanimity. One of those directives is the Directive 2078 EG. It basically contains the fight for discrimination at the workplace. But as you might notice, perhaps that is much more specific. So it is also less important to change it compared to the treaties, but it is easier. Now Theoman will talk a little bit about the history of the European diversity and inclusion policy, and also on Article 19 of this Treaty of the Functioning of the European Union Treaty.
Hi, I'm Theoman, and I am researching the history aspect of this paper and research. I'm looking at the history of the European diversity and inclusion policy, and this is because by looking at the history of the European D&I policy and how it has changed throughout the years, we hope to gain knowledge on how to change the current diversity and inclusion policy. I will be specifically looking at the disability part of the European diversity and inclusion policy. I'm focusing on disability because one of the objectives for this research is to change the pillar of this disability to include neurodiversity. This is still a work in progress, so I will share only what I found so far. One of the most important events in the history of the European diversity and inclusion policy is the inclusion of Article 19 in the Treaty on the Functioning of the European Union, which is one of the two treaties forming the constitutional basis of the European Union. This was done by way of the Treaty of Amsterdam in 1997. This article gives the European Commission the power to act against discrimination on the grounds of the 6 pillars, one of them being disability. This article is of the utmost importance, the pillar of disability, since it is the only core provision that relates explicitly to the rights of persons with disabilities. The actual definition of disability was not given at that time. It was only given 10 years after that, in 2006, or almost 10 years after that, 2006, by the Court of the Justice of the European Union. This definition is very important for us because it adheres to the social model of disability, which is similar to how the neurodiversity movement views neurological conditions like ADHD and autism. This could open up a possibility for us to make a change in wider European diversity and inclusion policy. Article 19, on the other hand, is much harder to change, as Jens has already mentioned. It has stayed exactly the same since 1997. But the European diversity and inclusion policy is luckily much wider than just that article, so there are other parts of the policy that we can change. For example, there was the 1996 European Community Disability Strategy, there's the Employment Equality Directive of 2000, and the EU Disability Action Plan from 2003 to 2010. These are just examples of a wider European diversity and inclusion policy towards persons with disabilities. Investigating these other parts of the European policy can help us better understand how to change European diversity and inclusion policy on a wider level and on a deeper level.
Hello, I'm Vera, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the ways in which we can change EU law. For our research project, we wanted to look at the standard procedure through lobbying by contacting certain members of the European Commission or European members of Parliament, since normally the members of the European Commission make the plans of a change of the law, and the European Parliament then votes in favor or against, and then a law can be altered. We contacted several members of the European Commission and European Parliament, but as we all know, right now it was election time, so it all took a little while for us to get a response, but we thought it would be a nice way to get the members of Parliament thinking about this subject, and that maybe through their help we can already get a start in implementing the subject in their plans. There's also a second way in which an EU law can be altered, and that's called the European Citizens Initiative. And that's basically a petition campaign in which 1 million signatures from EU citizens have to be collected, and then the law change can be proposed to the European Commission. For this to be set up, there has to be a group of 7 organizers, and they all have to derive from a different EU country who starts the campaign. So this also really identifies the importance of the international cooperation when trying to change an EU law. So especially in this event, in the Neurodiversity Pride Week, which is also an international event, I think it's really a good chance to start talking to members of other countries about this problem, and maybe start organizing something like this. It can be a nice start. In order for this to get through the European Commission, a minimum number of signatures per country has to be reached, and the minimum number of signatures per country also varies. So for Germany it's, for example, more than 70,000 signatures, but for Luxembourg it's 4,000, so it also kind of depends on the size of the country. And then when 7 countries reach that quota within 12 months, and in total 1 million signatures are collected, then the initiative is passed on to the European Commission, and then they will debate about it and enlighten. Yeah, the group of organizers will enlighten the initiative to the European Commission, and then when the European Commission votes in favor of this initiative, then it will be passed through to the European Parliament, and then they will vote for or against this initiative. So it doesn't really have to come only through lobbying and through the official institutions, but it can also be it can also start through the citizens themselves. So I think it's important to raise awareness for this, so that we all know that this is also a possibility, so we can all make a change.
Hi everybody, I'm Ties, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the justification of our proposal, because now that we've given the handles on how to change EU policy and what to change and who we need to realize this change, I'm going to talk to you about how we're going to persuade these people. How are we going to get the European Commission or the European Parliament as far as to say, okay, let's go, let's do this, let's alter this law. And therefore we have provided three main arguments, three scientific arguments, and each of them in our paper, in our roadmap, we have made an academic embedding for these arguments, so they can't be counter-argued. The first argument is a moral argument, then I have an argument about minorities, and an economic argument to sum everything up. I'll start with the moral argument, because there is a big moral part to this question. Everybody wants to be themselves. Everybody wants to be who they are and don't want to have to hide it. You don't want to have to put up a mask every morning when you go to work. And that turns out to be something which psychology research shows, that a lot of neurodivergents have to put up this mask every morning in order to confine to regular neurotypical norms and orders. And this turns out to be very bad for their mental health. They often tend to get in a depression, or maybe even worse, suicidal thoughts. And since it's a vow of the EU to protect all EU citizens against themselves or against somebody from the outside, the EU can play a big part in defending or protecting these EU citizens by including them in their D&Y policy, so that these citizens can be who they are and that they don't have to hide who they are. Then the second argument is the minorities argument, because one of the fundamentals of the EU is that it treats all its citizens equally. There should be no discrimination in any sort, and that's also why they formed these 6 pillars on age, gender, LHBTI, ethnic origin, and some other. But as it turns out, neurodivergency is not one of those, and that's a problem. And you might think, why? Why is it not a problem? Or why is it a problem? Why are they not a minority? Well, the EU tends to have asked the same question because there's a research group, the NetBells, which is funded by the EU, who were conducting a research to this. They started in 2017 and concluded their research in 2020. And the main conclusion of their research was that neurodivergents are in fact a minority in society, a very big minority as they be, because 1/7 of all people are neurodivergent. So it's kind of odd that this research, which was funded by the EU, which concludes that neurodivergents are in fact a minority, but the EU still hasn't got this minority in their D&Y policy. So we think it's a very strong argument if we say to them, like, yo, you made this argument, you did this research, you funded it, why are you not including these people as a minority? Why are you not defending them? That's what we want to tell them. We think it's very strong. And then a third argument on economic research. A lot of neurodivergents are unemployed. Research shows that over 40% of the neurodivergent people are unemployed, and this results in them being late on bills, coming in financial crisis, maybe not being able to afford a house, and this is very dishonest to these people. They deserve better, they should get better attention, and they should maybe have get better help while searching for a job, because the problems they face, for example, in a job hiring process, is frustration with the focus on social skills, a perceived need for more flexible hiring processes, a desire for more clarity, and the importance of the environment in the workplace. And because all these things, which make it very difficult for neurodivergents to find a proper job, we miss out on a lot of valuable talent, valuable force on the valuable labor force. Because when given the right circumstances, when we meet their needs, neurodivergent people can be up to 10 to 20% more effective in their work. So we're really missing out on this, and that's what we're also going to tell the EU. You're missing out on a lot of valuable talent. We have a shortage on the job market. So if we provide a inclusive society for these people, we can also help this. And these three arguments together, we think they're very strong, able to persuade the European Parliament and the European Committee, and therefore we think we'll be successful in persuading everyone and getting this proposal through.
Thank you for watching our presentation. We hope you enjoyed it very much. You can contact us through these emails if you have any questions, and happy Pride.